And I want to do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Costatsam, Esquimalt, and Lekwungen Songhees ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. Welcome. So today's session is on the Doctor of Business Administration, how to turn a valid research problem into a strong and competitive initial doctoral proposal. I am so pleased to welcome Dr. Hassan Wafai, who will be speaking about the Doctor of Business Administration program. Welcome.
Thank you, Amara. Oh, thank you for the introduction and getting us started. Okay, so Amara gave me the control on the PowerPoint presentation now, so I can move it. There you go. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. This session is intended for those who are really getting started with their research proposal. We're going to focus on that particular piece, very important requirement. So the agenda for today, after the welcome that Amara did it very nicely, we're going to talk a little bit about why DBA again. Quick overview, why DBA, comparison between DBA and MBA and other master degree, comparison between DBA and PhD, the conventional PhD program. And then we're gonna present to you a couple of photos for our students, and then talk a little bit about how to work on your initial proposal, how to build it, the initial research proposal, and then we will allow a time for a one-to-one conversation, a little bit more on some examples about research proposal. So with that, why Royal Road DBA? The DBA program will help you to have the quality and the authority, knowledge and terms and the currency to lead change in your industry, to lead change in your field. You will have also the skills to develop original management related research that advances management research and practices. You will be part of Royal Road community of management researchers. This is very important as you work with other researchers and colleagues who've been involved in management-related study. And you will have the opportunity to reflect on your leadership capacity and skills, and leadership quality, what quality of leader you are, and advance that and move to the next step. Again, the focus here is to build your currency, as a subject matter expert, or your currency as a leader in your industry, and lead the change in your field or industry. So one of the common questions I always have, what is the difference between DBA and master's degree? I mean, oftentimes we have colleagues who ask me, well, I have an MBA. Why do I need to do DBA? I mean, I know marketing, I know finance, I know HR, I can't talk about all these things. What extra value I'm gonna get? I mean, how DBA will really help me to be a leader in the industry, to be all these, to build my currency as a subject matter expert. I mean, academically, there are two key differences between a master level program and a doctoral program. Master level program like MBA focuses traditionally on help you advance your career. That means helps you to advance within an organization. So it's more on that career piece. While the DBA program goes beyond that, it helps you to lead within an industry. So it's not focusing on the basic from each subject. No, it helps you to dive deep into specific topic and earn that authority of being a subject matter expert in the field. The second key difference is also the nature of learning in these two programs. While in the MBA program or any master degree, the focus is on applying knowledge. Well, I learned certain concept, I apply that concept within organization. Whether that concept is operational management concept, strategic management concept, HR management concept, whatever concept you're going to learn, it is how to apply that particular concept within organizational boundary. While in the DBA program, doctoral program, the focus will be in producing your own knowledge. It's not just understanding and applying the knowledge, it's you're going to produce your own knowledge, your own contribution to human knowledge and to the literature. The other question I have always, often I would say, it is the difference between PhD program and Royal Road DBA program, the difference between Royal Road DBA program and another DBA program, conventional DBA program that you could probably you are aware of, and that you could find them in Europe or in America. So there are key differences here, and I list here some of the differences between these three different programs. When it comes to program design, PhD program is non-modular. It may include taught component like taught courses, but the focus will be mainly on research. Professional DBA, professional doctorate that you could find in Europe or in Austria or in America, they are very much modular. I would describe them as like an enriched version of master degree. It's mainly taught courses. Let's focus on research. The Royal Road DBA program, since it's a hybrid, so it combines the best from both version of the PhD and the professional doctorate. So it's a modular. It has courses in the first year, but it is a research intensive. So Royal Road DBA combines both the PhD and professional doctorate in one program. The emphasis then for when it comes to outcome emphasis, the DBA program emphasizes contribution to both theory and practice, whereas PhD emphasizes contributions to theory, and professional doctorates emphasize contribution to to industry or professional practices. So again, the Royal Road DBA emphasizes contribution to both theory and practice. In terms of preparation for employment and further study, Royal Road DBA helps you to advance your career within academia, but also outside academia. If you have only a PhD program, it's normally hard to get a job outside academia. I would say hard. I would like to avoid generalization, but statistically speaking, 75 to 85% of PhD graduates, they don't end up in academic jobs, and they struggle to find the right place in the industry because they are not prepared to work in the industry. Their PhD program focuses on their academic skills, not professional skills. And professional doctorates, the pure professional doctorates, do not focus on research. So they do not prepare graduates for academic job. Now, Royal Road DBA focuses on both the theory, contribution to theory and practice. Therefore, it helps, or it prepares students for careers within and beyond academia. In terms of research methodology, Royal Road DBA program, acknowledge different approach to research. It's not the conventional approach, finding a gap in the literature. That's a conventional approach. Finding a gap in the literature and build on that gap to build a research problem. That's a PhD. It could start, I mean, in the Railroad DBA program, you could start with a real life problem, and then you could relate this problem to existing literature and then build your research problem. In terms of research dissemination, the Royal Road DBA program, it prepares students to communicate their research findings to academic and professional audiences, both academic and professional audiences. Whereas PhD program focuses mainly on academic audience, and professional doctorate focus mainly on professional and public audiences. So Royal Road DBA, it prepares students to communicate to both worlds, the academic world and a professional world. In terms of professional capacity, autonomy, we always like to use the term that Royal Road DBA focuses on leaders as scholar practitioners. They are not just a scholar, they're not just practitioner, they are scholar practitioner. They can speak theory, but they can speak practice. They contribute to theory, but contribute to practice. They can work in academia, but they can work outside academia. So this is some of the key differences between a conventional PhD program, conventional professional doctorate program, and Royal Road DBA program. Okay, jumping to admission requirement. And by now, I think you are very much familiar with these requirements. So today, I would like to focus mainly on the initial proposal. And that is a key admission requirement, if not the key admission requirement. Now, for questions about other requirements, reference letter, I mean, details about anything in the process. I mean, we have fantastic enrollment advisor, fantastic, by all means, fantastic enrollment advisor. You could see here, Tracy Summers with us and Imara also, they help, they are the right people to help you through the process. So today I'm going to focus on the initial proposal. There you go. Before we get to the proposal piece itself, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what does the journey look like. Yeah, it's different colleagues describe the journey differently, but the way I like to describe it as a liberating experience, mind liberating experience. It is something that helps you to think out of the box. It's something that helps you to start reflecting on your experience, start to be critical about your own experience, your own practice. So it's a liberating experience. This is the way I see it. You know, with such type of experience, at the beginning, you struggle. You'll find, well, what I'm doing here, and that's normal. That's very normal. All doctoral students will ask these questions. What is my research question? Am I doing the right problem? I mean, and the more the more you read the literature, the more you start to question the literature and to question yourself. And over time, you start to find your place, and you start to reflect on your position within your position as a scholar within the literature, and then you will develop your research accordingly. That research that brings contribution to human knowledge, again, brings contribution to human knowledge. I mean, literature, the existing literature, that is a human knowledge, existing literature. This is a picture of our first cohort. Fantastic colleague, fantastic colleague. They are friends and colleagues. I do recommend, strongly recommend, please, there are some links, 2 links actually at the bottom, and I see here Imara post the same link on the chat. We have 2020 cohort, 2021 cohort, and we have now 2022 cohort. All of them, you could see their bios, what they are doing, what kind of research they're doing. And if you want to connect with any one of them, please let us know. We are here to help you with that. This is a picture of our first residency, I think 2020, pre-COVID. We had just our residency after COVID in March. We're very excited, and the next residency will be in February 2023. Again, the residency features workshops. It's about working with colleagues. It's about discussing your research idea, learning from colleagues, critiquing their work, and allowing them to critique your own work. It's that learning conversations that once you are in this kind of environment, you will say, oh my God, this is exactly the environment where I should be. I should continue being in that kind of environment. So research proposal. So what's a research proposal? I'm sure you're working toward that right now, or you started some maybe in your research proposal. So the research proposal should feature the following key elements. A research problem. You will need to define a research problem. Research proposal is traditionally about a research problem. And based on this problem, you will formulate a research question, in progress research question. The second key element, it's an explanation of the importance of the problem. You will explain the problem, how the intended research will likely contribute to management practice and research. You will basically discuss if the problem is still a problem or it has been solved. You will provide evidence around that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. And lastly, you will explain how the intended research relates to your career goals and objectives. So three key elements, the research problem, discussion about the importance of the problem, and then the last part of the proposal will be, I would expect it to be a paragraph or two around how the suggested research relates to your career objectives and goals. Let's start with the research problem. I like to call it, we try to define a researchable problem. Now, you will need to identify that problem. Everything will build on that problem. Management business related problem. And that is based on either your observation or extant literature. So when it comes to observation or experience, you could say, for example, I've been working in this particular field for so many years, and there is certain issue we've been dealing with that is being there. And although or despite all the efforts, this issue is still there. Now, that's one approach to start identifying the problem. So a problem that you're dealing with in your real life situation, okay? Or you could see the literature and say, well, there is a gap in the literature. So perhaps you have a recent paper around, let's say, project management. You read a recent paper about project management, and you said, well, there is a gap in let's say, in applying technological advances in the context of project. And that is a recent paper, and there is a need. This paper calls for more research that support that particular gap. Now, the key point here, it's not either or. So when you're defining the problem, you can't say, well, this is based on my experience. I don't want to read anything about the literature. No, even if it's based on your experience and observation, you still need to support that with literature. You still need to make sure that is relevant to existing gap in the literature. Or if you start with the literature, you still need to make an argument that this particular issue that you find in the literature, it also relates to practice, specific practice. So basically, you need to address whether the problem has been addressed before. So the problem of applying technological advances in the context of a project, is it still a problem? Or maybe it has been addressed before. XYZ authors have discussed this. And even if they have discussed this, you could say, well, they are still, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. They discussed that piece. I want to talk about that piece. So you want to show us some evidence that you've done you put some effort into addressing these questions. I mean, the first one, has a problem been addressed before? The second one, it's that you know about this problem. I mean, you are aware of the problem. Have you done some research around the problem? Have you read a couple of papers around that problem? We're not expecting you to come up with like a full literature review. The point here is to provide key highlights from the literature. And like I will say, a few references, proper, valid references to support your argument. Now, when you define the problem, you need to consider the scope of the problem. So it shouldn't be too broad. For example, how to improve management practices. This is a little bit too broad, right? Well, I've been working for 30 years. I always struggle with, oh, fine. That's a very general problem. You can't, this is not researchable problem, I would describe it. It's too broad, but also you don't want it to be too narrow. So you need to make sure that you have the right scope. And again, we understand this is an initial proposal. So that initial proposal will be improved, and you're gonna spend a lot of time working on it later once you are in the program. Now, one good exercise, and we will do it toward the end of this session, is to try to articulate the problem in a couple of sentences. It's like a 30-minute elevator pitch kind of things, but it's if you can have it in 2 sentences, that's mean you're clear about this problem. And we normally have an expression in literature called the problem statement. Can you state the problem in a couple of sentences? If you have that statement, that means the problem is clear. The application of augmented technologies in project management. Couple of statements. And once you have that problem, then you build a research question. And that research question, again, it will change, and there will be a lot of learning you will have about that question. So if the problem about the implementation of augmented technology in a context of project or to advance project management, so what could be the research question here? What aspect I'm looking at? It is, what are the factors that contribute in successful implementation of augmented technology in project management? What barriers companies deal? Okay, or how can augmented technology be implemented? So you need to that direct the focus of your research. If it's about how question, then you talk about the implementation, how I can implement that. If it's what, you're describing certain barriers, enablers, issues related to the problem. So and you can't jump to the research question unless you are clear about the research problem. Now, once you have this clear problem and clear question, you need to explain, why is it important? Why is it important? Why applying augmented technology in project management is an important problem? Why is it worth researching? It's not enough to say, well, it's based on your experience. That's not sufficient. It's important, it's nice, but it's not sufficient. You need to support your argument with some literature. And oftentimes we receive proposals that have no references, and we will need to contact the applicant to tell that applicant, you know what, good, but we need to see references, peer-reviewed articles, one or two, policy paper. We need to see, I would say, not one or two. I mean, we will need to see a few peer-reviewed articles. I would say a few, anything between 4, 5 to 10. If you could go beyond that, that would be good. But I would say at least like at least 3, 4, or even 5 better solid peer-reviewed articles. Now, someone will tell me, well, how can I access this article? We're not expecting you to go and purchase this article itself. The abstract of most of the articles are available online. I mean, go to Google Scholar and type some key terms that reflect your research problem. You will have a long list of articles. Some of these articles are open. I mean, this is open access articles. If you want to read 1 or 2 papers, you could really go to to a local library and get these papers from a local library. So the point I'm trying to say here, we are really encouraging you to add some key highlights from the literature. And these highlights in the literature, you will describe what did researchers and practitioners say about the problem. Is a problem under research? Was a problem addressed before? The problem of implementation of augmented technology in a project management. Is it under research area, or there's a lot of research around that? Okay, if there's a lot of research around that, what is exactly I'm trying to achieve here? What contribution my research will add to existing literature? We want to see evidence that you're discussing this. We understand this is an initial proposal, so it may not be 100%, I would say, valid in terms of the scope of the research that you've done, but that's okay. It's only evidence that you've done some efforts into this, into discussing your research problem. It's also important to discuss the potential consequences of the problem in relation to industry, in relation to society, national, global economy, and management practice. I mean, you don't want to discuss all that, but I mean, whatever, it depends on your research problem. I mean, if I'm talking about the application of augmented technology in a project management, it has implication, it has consequences within the specific sector, right? Within management practice, the way we manage projects. These are, something you probably want to discuss, how important your research problem is. So I talked about this. You need to include key highlights from the literature. Your proposal should be evidence-based document. Overall, that we want to see that you have put some efforts into reviewing relevant works in your area of research. So in terms of research design, I mean, once you describe the problem, oftentimes colleagues, applicants who, are very keen about their research and that they've done a lot of work, they also include research design piece. It's nice to have, I would say, a couple of sentences, a few sentences, a paragraph about the research design, but we are not expecting something that is something detailed. It's just a general statement. How do you see yourself doing that kind of research? How do you see yourself doing this research? What kind of data are you expecting that, or you're anticipating to address the research problem? You're thinking that you're going to do interviews? Are you anticipating focus group, survey, doing survey? Just like a general statements. But I strongly recommend don't provide too much detail. Remember, it's a 5-page, maximum 5-page, 4 or 5-page. Providing more doesn't always mean that's better. Sometimes less is more. So making sure to provide exactly the 4 or 5-page, make sure you use these page wisely to focus, to discuss the research problem, the important problem, research question, 1-2 paragraph about research design. I mean, very general, 1 paragraph, couple of sentences, a few sentences, and that will be that should suffice. Now, let me give you some examples about research problems, research design, research issues. Now, the first example, Nathan Banda. Nathan is our colleague in the DBA program, and we describe our student as colleague, of course. Our colleague in the DBA program, he started the DBA program in 2020. He's from the first cohort. Nathan has a master's degree, not in business, but it is in related field, right? Has a 15 years of experience at that time. Now it's more than 18 years of experience. He's been in the area of nursing management since 2016. A very accomplished colleague. Now, what is a problem he proposed at that time? It was based on, I mean, this problem was the initial problem he proposed. So the research problem, he say, and that's based on his observation, based on his experience as being working in the nursing management. So there is a perpetual nursing retention. Nathan argued that there is a perpetual nursing retention challenges in the rural area of Canada. Based on his experience, what happened with him in 2018, 40% of registered nurse just left. Just like this left, 40%. And for him, as a manager, it was a crisis he needed to deal with. So Nathan went to the literature finding why my nurse is leaving, and couldn't find specific literature related to that particular area. There is a very much, there's a lot of literature around employee retention, but there's no specific literature around nurse retention in rural area of Canada, in healthcare sector, of course. Accordingly, well, Nathan suggested, that was the first research question Nathan suggested, what are the factors affecting nursing retention in rural areas of Canada, or rural area in Canada? That's the first example. Let me give you another example. Jason Major. Jason is a Master of Art in Security Defense Management and Policy. Clearly, he's in the military for a quite long time. Now he joined the government from military. So colonel from Royal Canadian Air Force with over 30 years of experience as a pilot. A gentleman, pleasant to work with. Now, what's the problem? Well, I mean, based on his experience, I mean, he's in the aviation industry. He spent all his life in the aviation industry. His connection, his network, his talk. When they go to have a drink, they talk about this. This is their life. So, and notice during COVID pandemic that it's a significant shock that hit the aviation industry, airline industry, and we all can relate to that, right? We all been through this, and there is a period of uncertainty. Thousands of Canadians have lost their jobs. Well, this is a very clear research problem. But what is a research question? That was the first research question that Jason Major suggested. How can COVID lessons learned, best practices, and resilience be used to help Canadian aviation management improve their systems and business models, enabling them to be more resilient going forward? Since I'm working with Jason, I can tell you now, after almost 2 years, what is the most up-to-date research question for Jason. Most up-to-date research question for Jason right now, it is how can resilience be improved in the aviation industry in Canada, actually in the air transport sector, in Canada. Very simple. But the focus here is on resilience, how resilience performance can be improved. Another colleague, Tasha Brooks. Tasha, indigenous researchers, a colleague. She is working at Vancouver Island University at this point of time. She's a director for Cauchan Tribes Fishing Enterprise. Now, Tasha, noticed and built her proposal, not just noticed, observed a research problem, and this research problem is based on a solid statistical number, that Canadian Indigenous entrepreneurship participation rate is 6.26 compared to non-Indigenous participation rate of 11.75. That's Statistic Canada 2016, and this is still valid until now. So Canadian Indigenous entrepreneurs, they do not participate as much as the non-Indigenous entrepreneurs in the programs that government offer. There are so many programs that government offer to support entrepreneurs. Seems like Indigenous entrepreneurs don't participate as much as non-Indigenous entrepreneurs. Why? What's going on there? Why? Is it a problem in the program? Is it a problem with indigenous entrepreneurs? Where's the problem exactly? And how government could help that particular important entrepreneurs? So the question is, that was the initial question again, exploring why, despite increasing entrepreneurial support, interest, available for indigenous entrepreneurs, a lower number of indigenous people engage in entrepreneurship. Now, these are just the 3 examples to talk a little bit about, how you build, and give you an idea how you could build your research problem and question. And here are some advices as you're thinking about your research question. Research your passion. You have, once you start the DBA program, one of the key advantage you will have compared to other doctoral students who are doing conventional PhD, you have the ability to align your passion with your research. You have the opportunity to research something you are interested in, you're passionate about. You want to spend the rest of your career and professional life working in. So make sure that you research your passion. And passionate research often results in thoughtful and rigorous research. That's very important. It's not a short journey, it's a long-term journey, and it will shape your professional identity. So make sure that you choose wisely and choose and align your passion with your research. Know your motivation. Why a DBA? It's a very important question. What does DBA program bring to you? Think about that. Am I doing it because I need it to advance my career only? Or am I at a certain stage right now in my life where I really need to have a currency as a subject matter expert? I've spent a lifetime working in a specific field. I have a lot of experience. I need now to go to the next level. So think why. Why do you want to be 4 years? Where do you want to be 4 or 5 years from now? identify your competitive advantage. You can do stuff others they can't do. Nathan Banda can research nursing retention in rural area in Canada, others cannot. This is a competitive advantage. I can't do that. I don't have access to that. I mean, this is the problem he's familiar with. It is related to his area of research and his area of practice. Jason Major, he's spent a lifetime in aviation industry. He knows what he's doing. He have the access, he have a competitive advantage over other researchers who are doing similar research. And that's the beauty of having experienced researcher doing doctoral research, or experienced, not necessarily researcher, experienced colleagues who doing doctoral study. Now, as you're building your research proposal, you will need to consider the following: the structure of the proposal. There is no standard structure. So I often have the question, I often been asked, could you, Hassan, tell us what is the structure, how many sections, what are the headlines, the headings and subheadings and all this? There is no standard structure. It's totally up to you. But generally speaking, we will expect to have an introduction. Probably you will have a section around, you start with defining, just clearly articulating your research problem and the questions, and possibly, if possible, objectives. And then you will have a section around explaining the importance of the research problem and potential contribution to theory and practice. And then the last section, and they may have a paragraph or two about research design. And the last section will be how your research relates to your career. That's the most conventional way. I'm not saying this is the only way. It's totally up to you, but this is the most conventional structure. The length of a proposal, always remember, less is more. Less is more. So 4-5 pages, that's all what we need. Citation and references. Make sure that if any piece of information that you will add to your into your proposal is properly referenced and cited. You could use whatever citation manual you are familiar with. That's totally fine. Once you are in the DBA program, we will focus on the ABA manual. You will find a lot of information about ABA manual everywhere. Again, the key here is to make sure that you reference information properly. Readability is important. I mean, make sure you review your proposal, you edit it. I probably want to ask a colleague to give you to read it for you once or twice, give you opinion. So readability and clarity of your proposal are important. Okay, before we go with think, share, exercise, and we stop recording, I wanted to stop now and ask if you have any question, anything you want me to expand on. Are you following me? Give me thumb up. Are you following me? Are you good so far? Okay. No answer. Good answer. Okay. Thank you, Panky. Thank you. You have a question. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wafai. My question is around the proposals that the students are meant to submit the initial proposal.
Yes, sir.
If a student's research is out with the purview of the faculty expertise that RRU has, what happens? If you've talked about being passionate about the subjects that I want to research. If my research, falls out with the purview of the expertise of the faculty, what happens? Am I going to kind of look for an external supervision or something?
Don't worry about that. You have the option to have a supervisor from Royal Road University, but you also have an option to have a supervisor from outside Royal Road University. So if Royal Road does have a really wide range of colleague expertises within their faculty, but it's very much could happen that your topic is not closely aligned to existing expertises. That's okay, that's fine. We still can have an external supervisor to supervise you. So I think at this point, wouldn't worry about this. I will worry about making sure that my research problem has a management related, or it is within a management related area. So let's say I'm interested in technology application. If my research problem about developing technology, developing software, this is not related to management. This is computer engineering. But if it's about implementing technology, that's a management related. So we focus on now on the making sure that I'm writing, I'm expressing articulating the problem clearly, and the nature of the problem. Banky, did I answer your question?
Brilliant. That was excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking question, for encouraging everyone now to raise hands. I see Georgina here. Thank you, Georgina. Go ahead, Georgina. Your screen, your floor, your mic.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was following with keen interest. I've noted that the research, most of them are doing in Canada. But then, like for me, an international student, my experience that I have would be based in Malawi, where I come from. So is it like then you're required, the student is required on a research on Canada, or how is it like? And like Nathan Banda, I think he could be from Africa, even Malawi, where I come from. So I was particularly interested on that one as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Georgina. Am I pronouncing your name right correctly?
Yeah, sure. You are.
Thank you, Georgina. And you're talking to us now from Malawi right now?
Yes.
What time there?
It's 7:30 p.m.
7 p.m. That's not too late.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Not too late. That's good. That's good. Okay. I'm talking from Victoria. It's 10:20 a.m. morning.
Okay.
The weather is fine. A little bit of a shower. We have a little bit of a rain, but it's a beautiful weather. I think it's getting better.
Great. Yeah, it's very cold.
It's very cold. Okay, Georgina. So the answer to your question, first, thank you for the question and for the opportunity for me to explain that particular point. No, the focus is not only on Canada. It's every student bring his own focus. So for example, I give you an example of my colleague, Benjamin, a student in the DBA program. He is looking at how to improve downstream oil sector in Nigeria. This is the focus of the research is in fact in Nigeria. Tede, another international student in the DBA program, focuses also on governance in Nigeria. So, and these are two African students, so very proud of them. They're doing great job. Though Benjamin is originally from Nigeria, to be very clear, while Tede is international student, himself is international student. So it's to answer your question, you could focus on specific country that is possible. You could focus on a specific industry that's possible, as far as you can justify it. As far as you can justify it. Again, when you say justified means when Nathan Banda wanted to search or to research problem of nursing retention in a rural area of Canada, he justified, say there is no research that discuss this problem in the rural area of Canada. Then the problem is valid. Georgina,
Okay.
did I answer the question?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
I think the major part is the justifying. Because when I was looking at Nathan Banda, as I said, I think he could be from Africa and in Malawi as well. I was like, that problem is also here in Malawi as well.
Okay.
Of the retention of the nurse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's why I got interested. No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you. Panky, question. You have another question? I see your hand up again.
Yes, I've got another question, please. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Okay, so my question is in two parts. The first one is about the peer-reviewed journals that you did, ask that students, should focus on when we are trying to put in our application, the initial proposal. So are you strict about that they must be peer-reviewed journals only? So if my research is in the field of finance, for example, and I've got like Financial Times, The Economist, or some good articles from the Harvard Business Review, for example, that are written by some authorities in those fields that I think I can reference. Is that allowed? That is my first question. My second question is, in terms of the journals, how old, should we go into? So for example, if some schools will specify that the journals you are referencing or you are citing must not be, older than 5 years, maybe 3 to 5 years or thereabout. Those RRU have that, kind of a requirement as well, so that I don't, keep picking articles from 1972 or 1962 and you tell me that, it's not current. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Two important questions. I wanted to come back to address this question. I want to come back to the highlight of the literature. You see the screen here here on the screen. So it should be evidence-based. That's me when I say evidence-based, it should include highlight from the literature. The idea is to show how your research is positioned in the literature. I'm going to move to the previous slide here. The point is to show, to tell us whether the problem is under research. Now, if you referenced a paper 20 years ago, yes, your problem is under research 20 years ago. What about now? What about the last 5-6 years? So I would say some recent literature will help. Will really help, and will make your research proposal evidence-based. If you're telling me, well, you see what I mean? So it's about evidence-based, and the peer-reviewed articles, I'm not expecting you to go and read that peer-reviewed article. I mean, the abstract will show you the key points. Based on the abstract, you could say, well, you know what you wanted to do here. You want to address whether this problem has been under research, and that's this information normally in the abstract. So whether you want I mean, your first question about Financial Times and The Economist, these are really respectful journals. I mean, newspaper journals. I personally read them, and yes, you can reference them. In addition to having, a few and
Peer-reviewed journals.
This is relevant to them, a few peer-reviewed articles to support your argument, just to show the reader that you have done a little bit of work on that. It shouldn't be a lot of work.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Panky. Thank you. Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, maybe we will have these questions once we turn off the recording, right? I'm trying to get back to the slide. Okay, before we turn off recording though, but let me just there you go. The last slide I have, and that will set the stage for the next 15 or to 30-minute discussion. I would like to ask you to take 3 to 5 minutes to think about a problem situation that you are deeply interested in. That is your research problem. I would like you to write down your research problem, maximum 2 sentences, and prepare an argument. If possible to write that, also prepare an argument. Why is it important? Now, Imara will give us a way to discuss your research problem. I think a platform, Imara, what's